Hey guys, welcome to The Strong Young Man. Nobody likes to feel powerless. The feeling that we have no power over others can make us miserable. If this happens for long enough, life becomes unbearable. Whether you believe it or not, power is everywhere. People who deny its existence or utility do so to take advantage of people who refuse to believe that power exists, or people who can't understand that power could be used for good. This is the most manipulative form of power play. The first thing that you need to understand about power is that it's not just for kings and queens and other court systems of ancient times, but for everyone. As long as there are interpersonal relationships, there will always be power in various forms. Companies, games, sports, and government are all made up of hierarchies which revolve around power. Wherever there are hierarchies, there will always be power. Societies that push socialist constructs where everyone is supposed to receive everything in equal amounts still have to have some form of power monitoring the system. Individual power is the degree to which you have control over your own destiny or your life's outcomes, and it's not something to be dismissed as Machiavellian or psychopathic. There is nothing more foolish than to assume that power is something that is only useful and sought after by manipulators and psychopaths. In fact, power, when used responsibly, is actually the best antidote to all forms of evil. This is why it is essential to cultivate your understanding of power and then use it for good. Overtly or covertly, everyone yearns for power, because everyone desires some level of control over their own fate. There are many laws of power, and you should attempt to obtain mastery over every law so that you can maximise the degree to which you control your life. Today's episode is going to focus on power within social interactions and relationships, and how you can use power to obtain greater control over your own circumstances. This will enable you to turn any situation where you feel miserable due to powerlessness into a situation where you have greater control and more power. The golden rule of power is that he who has the gold makes all the rules. Understand that in any interaction or relationship, the power resides with the one who needs the other the least. When you need someone else less than they need you, you have the ability to set the terms of the interaction to a greater degree. Your ability to set the terms in any circumstance is proportional to the difference between how much others need you minus how much you need them. The more they need you and the less you need them, the larger your ability to set the terms and hence the greater control you have over other aspects of the interaction. Subconsciously, this golden rule dictates the behaviours of individuals in every interaction to a large degree. Pay attention to how you exert power over those less powerful and how you yield gracefully to those more powerful. In any interaction, both parties are always aware, on some level of consciousness, the level of power imbalance that is present. The more someone is benefiting from the interaction with you, the more they stand to lose if you choose to withhold the benefit that you provide. The larger the discrepancy in your comparative value, the more likely they will be to yield to your requests. If they don't yield to your requests, the more effectively you can leverage what you provide to them in order to enforce compliance. Taken to the extreme, terminating the relationship will cause more problems for the other because it will be harder for them to replace you than it would be for you to replace them. Dictating the terms and holding leverage over others is an extremely infrequent occurrence, but to do so as necessary is extremely significant to your well-being, especially if you want to have control over your own life. If you bring less value to someone else than they bring to you, then you may be able to dictate some of the terms some of the time, but overall, you'll have less of an ability to do so. There are many ways in which you can increase your own power, and they all revolve around you increasing your value to the point where you become indispensable to as many people as possible. In any situation, you'll have power over people if they depend on you for something they cannot easily obtain. Examples of this include providing an abundance of money for a person without means, providing people with networking opportunities to gain access to important people, providing positive emotions for someone who can't easily satisfy that emotion or who has suppressed the need for emotions, providing expensive services for free or at a discounted cost, providing the experience of a luxurious and fun lifestyle, providing easy access to anything that is priceless to another individual. If you can give people something that they cannot get for themselves, they become dependent on you if they want to continue to share in the happiness or good fortune you provide for them. Positive emotions are the most universal example of great power. People with more money than they know what to do with can unlock almost anything, except for the fleeting pleasures that cost nothing. Emotions are what make us human, and that's why positive emotions are the most universal form of power. Everyone desires to experience a particular emotion, and if you can be the one that provides this for them, they will fulfill every demand that you make of them. Find the one weakness, uncontrollable emotion, need, or insecurity that you can relentlessly provide to people to become the master of your relationships. Once you have established this position of power to a degree that satisfies you, you must not relinquish your position. This part is crucial. It's irresponsible to get into a powerful position only to squander it by exposing yourself to vulnerabilities that take away your power. Understand that power is always in flux. The position you find yourself in today can be taken away from you in an instant through a momentary lapse of concentration. To illustrate just how much power fluctuates, determined by relative need and value, think back to when you were a child. You had very little power over your parents, and this meant that you had less ability to make demands of them. As you progress through life and you increase your value, you become less and less dependent. At the same time, your parents grow old and weary and are more dependent on others, and so your ability to set the terms increases too. A dangerous example of how men commonly relinquish their power is when they fail to obtain a prenuptial agreement. In this scenario, a woman has no financial incentive to stay with a man if she can benefit more from a divorce. This is where it becomes crucial to provide her with other forms of value to hold the power over her. Make the allure of her staying with you as attractive as you can, while simultaneously removing the incentive for divorce by signing a prenuptial agreement. This concept translates across to anything. Learn to protect the value that you bring to others and make sure they cannot obtain it from another source to ensure you continue to hold the power. Other behaviours that can compromise your power include becoming too available. What is hard to come by inherently has more value. Committing too easily or too much to one person. Implying overtly or covertly that you depend on another. If the other is made aware of how much you depend on them, they can leverage this to their advantage. Offering full disclosure or explanation. Never allow people too much access into your life or to let them know what you're doing. This mystery will increase your power. Flip it the other way and always be interested in them. The benefit to this is twofold. Firstly, you gather information on them and their vulnerabilities. And secondly, you also appear more friendly and genuinely interested in them, which is something that is hard to find. You've translated a potential trait that compromises your power into one that strengthens your power. Another consideration on your journey to retaining power is to diminish the value of things that other people offer you. For example, once you're able to unlock sexual access to one woman, you can begin to provide value to other women to unlock an abundance of sexual access. Once sex becomes abundant, the sex that any one woman offers you becomes less valuable, and this reduces the value of what she offers. First, you increase the value of what you provide to her, then you decrease the value of what she offers you. This translates beyond intersexual dynamics. Increasing your value through your abilities will allow you to unlock valuable dimensions to your character that make what other people provide to you less valuable or more easily obtainable, giving you absolute power. Understand that when you have more power, you should reduce the need to use your power. This is how responsible people use power effectively. True power is unspoken, and the truly powerful only leverage their power when they absolutely need to. Great power unlocks great privileges that need to be used responsibly. Having great power over others should reduce the need to progress to the stage where you need to dictate terms overtly. The subtle mention of your requests will often be enough to enforce compliance if your value is high enough. This is called using the minimum necessary force. Going beyond the minimum necessary force is a tyrannical form of power that builds resentment. People are always more receptive to those in positions of power because there's a greater price to be paid for social rejection from the group leader. Our brains have evolved to associate social isolation with death, especially from powerful masculine tribal elders. Use this to your advantage in your relationships, but only use the minimum force necessary. You want to control the terms of the interaction, but you don't want to give off the impression that you're in control. You should never progress to the stage of overt control or ultimatums if you can avoid it. The best mode of operation is to make the leverage that you hold over others completely invisible. Remember, true power is unspoken. You don't want to make it obvious that another person is in a position of less power, because this could result in panic behaviour or resentment. Remember, all you're after is the ability to control your own happiness. You don't want to dictate terms any more than necessary, and you don't want to take away another person's happiness unless it conflicts with your own happiness. Most of the time, what you want won't come at the expense of the other. In fact, the best relationships are those where the desires of both individuals are satisfied at the same time. Both benefit symbiotically through association. This is known as interdependence. They benefit somewhat from you, and you benefit somewhat from them. All relationships should be interdependent to some degree, including parent-child relationships. What matters to you if you're after more control is to be less dependent on them than they are on you. It's up to you to have as little or as much control over the relationship as you want, but power comes from the freedom to choose, and powerlessness comes when you have no choice. The only way to be able to reliably control the terms of any relationship as you please is to provide significantly more value to another than they can provide to you. If you can't achieve this ideal state, then you must temporarily give off the impression until you can actually do so. Be aware that feigning your independence or strength will not always work when you need to set new terms or enforce compliance. You are powerless if people call your bluff. Better to come from a position of actual power and genuinely not need them as much as they need you. When you have genuine leverage, you unlock the ability to set boundaries, enforce compliance, correct undesirable behaviour, or set any other terms of the interaction. The more power you have, the greater the degree to which you can assert yourself and obtain compliance. Where power becomes critical is when you associate with someone who is compromising your ability to control your destiny or your life's outcomes. If you need these people less than they need you, you have all the leverage you need to enforce compliance if they engage in a power play. Your high value demands a certain level of respect, and if you don't get compliance, you walk away and they lose. This form of power is rarely used, but attaining this level of power is crucial to your happiness when you need to use it. You need to be aware of this, as ignorance or disregard to the laws of power doesn't make you immune to its effects, it actually makes you more susceptible. On your rise to greatness, you must be aware that people are constantly engaging in power plays. This is just a part of the game of life. The most common form of this is that people will engage in behaviours that encroach on your boundaries to see how much they can get away with. Don't continuously compromise your own boundaries to keep the peace in any relationship. Most people do this to avoid conflict in the hope that people will think more of you, but this only projects powerlessness. Ironically, people don't respect those who let others walk all over them. In time, a man who is not respected will also be disliked. Don't place being liked by everyone as your main goal. Place self-respect and honour above being liked, and paradoxically, more people will come to like you. You can't always be liked by everyone anyway, but by having self-respect, you can make yourself happy. The people worthy of you will also begin to respect you, and these are the best people to be liked by. Develop your sense of self-worth in order to be able to confidently enforce boundaries on people who intrude on your personal and psychological space. Never compromise yourself or your beliefs for the manipulations of others. To have the strength of character to enforce your boundaries and walk away from relationships where individuals repeatedly attempt to penetrate your boundaries is a mark of great power. An example of this is with intersexual dynamics. A lot of women have delusions of grandiosity, which is very concerning.
I'm a 10.
Equally concerning is the delusions of inadequacy that all men are going through. It appears as though women's understanding of their own value is being warped so far that it's causing men to believe that they are inadequate for most women. This is a side effect largely attributed to social media and feminism. Men need to break this cycle by understanding their own value and to some extent possess grandiose delusions of their own. Balancing out your delusions of inadequacy with delusions of grandiosity will see your confidence return to a level that is proportional to your value. Don't go too far with this and overcorrect for your delusions of inadequacy. The end goal is to project a level of confidence that radiates your power. This will ensure that others respect you when you're attempting to enforce your boundaries. At the same time, you need to build your competence in as many areas as you can, which will build genuine confidence. For women, sexuality is the only power that they have over men. Sex is easy to come by for all women, but extremely difficult to come by for most men. Through this scarcity, women can leverage their sexual agency over anyone for compliance, attention, money, or anything else they want. This is not evil or manipulative. It's leveraging what they have over others to obtain control over their destiny or their life's outcomes. Everyone leverages their own attributes to their advantage, consciously or unconsciously. Sex is just the easiest one for people to understand because it has been a woman's trump card since the dawn of time. What a man offers will always vary with the culture and the times, but a woman's sexual agency will always be her most potent asset. Whenever someone has control in this way over you, you need to accept that it's because you need them more than they need you. If you want to regain control over your life, the ideal state you need to get yourself into is one where the roles are flipped. This is where increasing your value becomes crucial. If you can increase your value to a level where you can provide a woman something that she cannot get easily, for example money, opportunities, emotional security, sexual satisfaction, physical protection, or any other unique in-depth desire, then she'll be more inclined to yield to your requests to continue to receive the value that you provide to her. Make sure that you are the only supplier of these desires and you'll have all the leverage you need to lead a successful relationship. Your relationship will not work properly if your woman is more powerful than you. The overarching theme of power is to become a high-value man. Nothing solves more of life's problems simultaneously than increasing the value that you can bring to others. When you have more to offer, more people will want to be around you to share in the prosperity you provide for them. If you're the minority, you hold the leverage because you're a scarce commodity. Everyone is so finely tuned into estimating what a person considers their own value to be. Everyone gives off signals, overt and covert, that demonstrate what they think of themselves and whether they project confidence and power or insecurity and submission. Understand the golden rule of power so that you can obtain the gold and then make the rules. My challenge to you is to use this power responsibly to improve your relationships, to improve your network, and then to fight the evils so prevalent in Western nations. Thanks for watching today's episode. In episode 114, I'll be running through what I eat for optimum health. Subscribe and click the bell icon to be notified when it drops. Catch you then.